now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Flippin the Birds.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to episode 187 of Flippin the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Eric Reese tonight. How you feeling, brother?
What's going on? I'm feeling great. Had a little bit of a engagement party over the weekend, so that was a fantastic time. And pretty much just being able to watch hockey, kind of the Flyers, kind of turn back into the win column. Always something with sports, never really taking a rest. So good weekend. I know it's Tuesday this time. Didn't even need a La Terrain watch for it this time, even though you should get one.
You definitely should get one. Yeah, definitely. You make sure you guys are using that coupon code WatchFTB at LaTerrain.com. Dopest watches. I think Zach has the ultimate collection of La Terrain watches.
Yes.
I am not there yet. I'm not a big watch guy, but I'm itching for it for Christmas, just in case my wife could hear me upstairs. But yes, Eagles coming off a bye week. I feel like it was a very zen kind of week. Stressless, relaxed, chill. It's the best team in the league on the bye. Guys getting healthy, which we'll kind of cover a little bit later on the show. But the NFC East, right? I mean, they were still playing. I mean, the Cowboys and Giants went at it. As far as the Washington Commanders, they took on Seattle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Seattle. They were. It was in Seattle, I believe, actually.
Yeah, I think so. Can we talk about that Giants and Cowboys game? Like, where the Cowboys stat padding? I mean, is that necessary? You're facing not even a B squad in New York. You're facing like the guys who it's like the replacements all over again in New York right now. Everybody's injured that plays on MetLife. A huge beatdown, but I don't know. Like, this isn't soccer. You're not. Points don't matter at the end of the season at this rate, right? What are they doing out there in Dallas?
I don't. You know what? Honestly, this is going to be maybe controversial because I'm not like mad at Dallas for that. But I don't think they were quote unquote padding stats. To me, padding stats means you don't take your starters out and you're still playing the way they did.
Well, they
did take out their starters, but they took them out late though. They took
them out in the fourth quarter, and it was already 49-0. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants are bad, dude. Like bad.
Yes.
Like it's kind of it would almost be hard for Dallas with the team that they have because it's not a bad team to not be up by that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like watching the NFC and kind of and looking at these games back, especially through highlights, the second time through. Particularly and got to give the Giants their due. Like honestly, at the end of the day, that team is just damaged.
Yeah,
left, right, and center. So and they're playing like it. And they're just a bad team. Honestly, though, I will take away from this weekend that I am a little bit more impressed in the Commanders than I am the Cowboys. But it's mostly because I expected that from the Cowboys, and the Commanders I think are playing above expectations.
Yeah, it looks like the Commanders are actually putting something together. And I feel like we spoke about that a little bit in the offseason where it's kind of like they have the weapons in place, right? They got rid of Montez Sweat. They got rid of Chase Young, and they're still in these games. They lost 29-26 against Seattle. But Sam Howell he's slinging it, right? The kid's playing for his career. He's playing for a job. He wants to be the guy going forward. He does have the support of the organization. But it seems, at least to me, interesting. I don't see how you trade away Chase Young and Montez Sweat. I get the idea that you can't afford both of them. That's still why the 49ers? Why are you trading Chase Young to the 49ers of all teams?
The 49ers needed an additional rusher to kind of compete with us. I think that's what it comes down to, and they knew that. Yeah. They're not playing against any other team in their conference. The 49ers are playing at the Eagles. So
I think that's very fair.
Like that, and that fits kind of their their type as far as what they were looking for.
And I do want to touch on something. So going back to the Giants, Ron just brought up a good point in the chat. So Ron's asking, are the Giants going to clean house next year? New head coach and GM. Here's my bone to pick with the whole head coach situation in New York, right? Why was Sirianni not coach of the year last year?
See, that's a very good point. I keep thinking it every week.
I mean, Brian Daboll, yeah, like he took a team from nothing to something, but did Sirianni not do that the year before when the team started off at 2-5 and they went to the playoffs? Then the year after, they're the number one team in the league, and even this season, like you're not seeing a lot of praise for what Sirianni's doing. Yes, he does have an extremely talented team, but to prove his point, the 49ers have a very extremely talented team, but it takes all hands on deck to win, as you can see. 49ers not a healthy team. Eagles are looking like a better healthy team, and the coach is just so much. How can I say this? It's so much more inviting than almost every other NFL team in the league. What's your take on the idea of? Well, I don't think Giants clean house, so we get throw it out the window. But what's your take on the head coach situation in Philly? Like Doug Peterson, Super Bowl season didn't get coach of the year. He lost it to I think Sean McVay, if I'm not mistaken. After beating Sean McVay with a one-legged Carson Wentz,
Right.
and then reaching the playoffs still with Nick Foles. What's your take on the coaching situation in Philly? Because it looks like this is a trend from the last several years that there's no recognition for the great head coaching that goes on within the Eagles.
Wasn't it like last year's everybody's narrative against Philadelphia was like, well, who do they play? Like that's all we heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from the perspective of the Giants to do as well as they did, which was I forget what the record was off the hand, maybe 500, maybe one game above 500 around that area.
Yeah.
For them for that perspective to even be around that area for the Giants, it was kind of like, well, the bowl made something out of nothing versus like maybe they expected us to steamroll everybody and we had an easy schedule in everybody else's opinion. That's fine. This year, that's last year, whatever. That's sour grapes. This
Mm-hmm.
year, Philadelphia, they're doing it again, and they're the best team in football right now. I don't think there's any way that you can say that Sirianni isn't the coach of the year.
If Sirianni and the Eagles,
if we're already like kind of picking out whoever the coaches of the year would be, it's probably Sirianni. I don't know in any particular order after that, but probably Reed. I mean, San Francisco, sure. So let's put them there's the usual suspects, but I also think like Seattle is probably up there in the top 5. I think the Lions are up there in the top 5 in that regard too. So that's probably it. That's probably after from 2 to 5, whatever. But out of those 5 teams, but Sirianni I would put number 1, like almost undisputed.
So this is from 7 days ago. This is from Vegas Insider. I am not a betting guy, so forgive me for getting this completely wrong or botching any of the terminology. But these are the NFL Coach of the Year odds as of 7 days ago. Number 1, Dan Campbell with
okay, so
plus 200.
My 5. Yep.
Mike McDaniel, who the Eagles beat, plus 400. D'Amico Ryans, who I think is very worthy of it because he's doing something spectacular in Houston. From their level of play is just great. Like you knew D'Amico Ryans going there was going to be something great. You just didn't think it would be something spectacular as it is right now. So he's at plus 600. Robert Saleh, I feel like this one's a little bit of a head scratcher, right? He's next on the list at plus 600. And I get it. They beat the Eagles, right? You beat the number 1 team in the NFL. The only team they're the only team that beat the Eagles, right? But I don't see what people see in this coach this season. Let's say like that, right? I get it. You don't have your star quarterback. Your defense is good, but you're not doing, at least in my opinion, coach of the year nomination like that high.
I wonder how much his odds changed from the moment when or the game, I guess the week after Rodgers got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it still falling? Is it still falling like every week? And that's where
do you think he was the favorite around that time possibly?
For coach of the year? I mean, he would have a lot of talent there. I would probably say with the defense, like the Jets had a whole different vibe to what they are now. When we were talking about how this, predicting the season record for the Eagles. So Yeah, I mean, like I think they could have probably did something, but I don't think he would have been the coach of the year. I'd
So,
probably in the top 3 though, probably a finalist if you will.
and that's fair. Like that's fair. If
Yeah,
you have a healthy Aaron Rodgers, he's slinging it, but you have like you still have Zach Wilson, who's not is not developing into the guy that you think he is, and he's still sticking by him, right? So that rounds out the top 4. The 5th coach is John Harbaugh. Plus 1400 would make sense. I mean, Ravens are doing their thing. They
that is
put it
fair.
together.
Yeah.
And then after him is Nick Sirianni, tied with John Harbaugh at plus 1400 as well.
Yeah, I can see. So the ones I left out of my 5, like Miami and Baltimore, that definitely makes sense for them to be right in position for that. So yeah, I would say there's probably contending coaches at this point in the season. Yeah, there's several, but I still think Sirianni's at the top of the list.
Which you think he should be. I mean, it's funny because Sirianni is that guy that you love to like, you hate to love, you love to hate, depending on where you're standing on the
Right.
sidelines, right? As Eagles fans, we love him because he's passionate. He's compassionate as well. He loves his players. He built such a great culture here, and he always stuck to who he was, right? Even after getting laughed off his first press conference, he still came back firing. Even with the garden tactics, like it's all worked out for him. He's stuck by Jalen Hurts. The guys love him, from the vets to the young guys. And I get it, the point of view on the other sideline, because you see him celebrating. He's one of us at the end of the day, right? Like Eric, if you're a head coach for the Flyers and you see your guys scoring, you're not going to keep a mean mug. Like as a fan of the sport, I'm pretty sure you're going to be like glistening a little bit, like yeah, like this happened on my watch.
There's definitely going to be a satisfaction about it. I think that there is a quick kind of celebration, but with the bench bosses in the NHL, yeah, I don't know. It's not really as extravagant. Like Sirianni stands out amongst
I love
coaches
it.
across
I
any
freaking love
league,
it.
really. But here's the thing, like so do I. But I think he's in the right market for it to be embraced, and that's big. Like I mean, if Sirianni was the head coach in New England, when New England's so used to Belichick, would it fly the same way? Like that. So I think
Yeah.
Philadelphia is like the fit for the guy.
Okay, so if Sirianni was a head coach of the Giants and they were winning, Daniel Jones was doing this thing right, and he was still doing his antics. I mean, I think it will fly in a market like New York, right? Or a market like even
I
like New
don't.
Orleans.
I don't because the market's big in New York for sure,
Hmm.
but the team, it's like we would be laughing at him like we do with Jason Garrett.
Okay, fair
Because
game.
it's the team also. Like the market and the team match, it matters, and
Okay,
and they're like flying the same way, no pun intended, in Philly.
so Nick
So
Sirianni was made and bred for Philadelphia at the
yeah, I
end of the
think it
day,
has to be a fit of like, hey, he has swagger, but the team, like, look at the team.
and
Like he
I
can have
mean,
swagger, but like if the team is only breaking off like a win here and there or a good play here and there, like we just said, right, in this example, if he was in New York, if Daniel Jones was doing his thing. Well, Daniel Jones does his thing at optimum and it's still not the best.
yeah,
So I would think that at the end of the day, it would come off very at best on a good day, Jason Garrett.
okay, that's fair. Listen, that's
Yeah.
fair. I It's weird. He fits the mold of Philadelphia so well, and he fits the organization. I personally, and forgive me for saying this, guys. Like I get it. Doug Peterson did bring a Super Bowl here, right? But Nick Sirianni just fits, like he's gonna be that guy, that Kyle Shanahan for more than a decade here, right? That Andy Reid for more than a decade, because he fits the structure of the organization so well. Him and Howie, and then the culture of the team. I'm excited that he's here. I'm excited to the antics that he brings on the sideline, because the guys buy into it. If you listen to the mic'd up moments, you see these guys just going off. You see that they're allowed to be themselves, which is phenomenal from a fan's perspective, and even an analyst perspective.
No, it's just he's a motivator, man, and you can see like at any time, the team just wants to run through a wall for him, and it's every week. Sometimes with teams, and obviously the Philadelphia game, I don't know if it was as much as a lull as it was like turnovers. Really, at the end of the day, there, I don't think that anything was like I don't think they really hit a wall. Like they responded well, and Philadelphia just kept their winning ways afterwards. They moved forward. Their mindset of a team led by Jalen Hurts is one that is just they don't really hit that lull. But with Sirianni kind of having the mentality he has as a coach, and then you just mentioned Jalen Hurts having the mentality he has as a coach, like, again, it's a perfect fit. And honestly, you might have to credit Sirianni with a little bit of, you know, like that mold that he keeps for the locker room. Like, if
Mhm.
you have to credit that, like, it takes a lot to motivate men every single week to do the same, to do that.
Not only
And
that, but the level of men that they have in this locker room, the AJ Browns, the Hassan Reddick, the Jalen Hurts, like
and
it's
the and the egos that they could have, and the
yes.
fact that they're in check, and that as well. I mean, there's a lot going on. Minus those guys. If you just talk about everything going on with the Kelsey family this year, there's a lot to keep in mind there. That could all be a distraction, if you will. But near Sirianni, it's not. Like, it's not even talked about in Philadelphia. I mean, granted, it's happened in Kansas City, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But no, I really love how he leads this team and helps lead this team and keeps everything in check as a head coach.
I
It's
completely agree.
I think, honestly, if you look at that, has to be weighed a little bit more heavily when you look at just an 8-1 record. Like, oh, the players, yeah, of course, are winning. It's not just because of the talent, though. Like, this team is different. Every year they're different.
And you hit the nail on the head, right? Like you have AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, right? You have two number one wide receivers who, granted, one is having a spectacular season, the other one's having a season, but you don't hear no riffraff about it. You hear these guys just loving each other and excited for each other. Jalen Hurts at times, like when he struggled, right? Sirianni got in his face. There was no animosity after that. Like it was just like this team is very. It seems like very family oriented where you could be mad at dad all you want, but dad is right at the end of the day, right? You have Fletcher Cox who came back to Philly, turned down more money to come back to Philly. You have Brandon Graham who's still playing like an ageless beauty. You have so many possible egos on this team, but none of it bubbles over. You're not hearing the Alshon of the world, right? You're not hearing that the QB doesn't like this, the QB does. You hear nothing from this locker room, and it's so phenomenal to see. Like even with the secondary struggling, nobody said anything about Darius Slay. Nobody said anything about James Bradbury. They all stand by each other, and they know that they need to correct their mistakes, and they're going to do that. I think it plays back to what I said in the beginning of the season. It's weird to have such a stable organization from top to bottom that it's just like this is freaking fun. Enjoy it while it lasts, right? Like this is gonna be a hell of a ride for the next possible decade.
I'm almost jealous of everybody who's young, and like, this is their memory of the Philadelphia Eagles, is just kind of jumping into this era. Like, even if your like beginning memories were like Carson Wentz, and like it didn't take long to get to the
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts era.
yeah.
When meanwhile, like we have like Rodney Pete. I mean, that's not bad, but it's still only Rodney Pete. Like, I had Coy Detmer, I had Bobby Hoying. Like, we had a lot of things to go through to get to
it's
where we got.
it's been a long journey. I mean, I grew up in the Donovan McNabb era, right? Like
Right.
I learned everything Philadelphia after seeing McNabb and Dawkins and them. Um, but it's just like the evolution of this franchise, the evolution of the players of this franchise. And I think this speaks volumes for Jeffrey Lurie, who doesn't get the credit I feel like he deserves. I mean, the guy's really background. He did get a little bit of animosity towards him when they fired Doug Peterson, right? They feel like he was too hands on, but like I don't know, like you walk into the link as a fan and you feel good. It's not like going to MetLife where you walking into a big old garbage can feeling like your team is just renting this place. Like no,
Yep.
you walk into the link, you're a member of the family. You're being invited to somebody's household and you're already a member of that family, no matter when you became a fan at the end of the day, right? Like it's weird. It's weirdly different, right? It's nothing. There's no place like it at all. I was talking to a peer of mine today who's he's a 4-for-4 Philly fan, right? And I was telling him like even as a Mets fan, like there's nothing like Phillies baseball in when it's playoff time. Like just seeing how the stadium just roars and it's a part of the team. There's nothing like it, and I feel like Nick Sirianni fits it well. Jeffrey Lurie fits as well. Top to bottom, every single player in this franchise fits it well. Fits as well. Um, yeah, I mean that's my little two piece about this organization.
No, I mean, it's just fantastic to kind of to see everything just kind of fall into place. And now Philadelphia is a powerhouse. It's just, if it wasn't for somebody named Pat Mahomes, it would be even more clear. Well, good. I honestly, I'm hyped to talk about this week because
I don't
this is
know
going to
about
be
Pat
the
Mahomes.
test.
I think if the guy wasn't wearing black and white stripes, it would be a little different topic. I mean, there was 2 holding calls on that play. I would not let that
There was.
go.
You're
It should have
you're
been offset, whatever case may be, played it down over and let the freaking Eagles drive down. Sorry.
There was a lot that happened. There was a lot that game that happened. There's a lot of little pick to pick at to the point where I just let it rest for a little bit. And, I picked at a couple things, but I'm like, overall, it wouldn't have changed much. I can't even sit there to say it would have. Like, hey, dude, that was a hard game, dude.
And you know what? I think what hits me more is that like my first Super Bowl that I saw was the Patriots and Eagles, right? Like it was, I was at a Sweet 16. They were playing at a bar. I left the party just to watch it from the bar. Nobody bothered me, and I was heartbroken to see that they came up short, right? But then 2017 comes around and they win. And you see this phenomenal championship game, and then like after last year's game, my daughter like she was just standing for a moment after the game. She's like, they lost? And she's
Yeah.
6 years old. I'm like, yeah, they lost, babe. She's like, I've never seen her just break down in tears randomly for anything like this. And she just broke down, threw herself onto the floor, and was crying. I'm like, oh, okay. We're okay. All right. I guess I'm raising you right.
Yeah, there's that part of it too, but it's also just kind of like you have such a long life for this team, dude. Like,
You will
oh
see
my
many,
god.
many more, child.
Yeah, oh my god. Anyway, let's talk about these current Eagles though. Let's
Yes,
talk about
absolutely. Let's bring up the injury report a little bit.
yeah.
I know there's not an official one out, but hey,
I have up to date
okay.
stuff as of today at least. So there
So
is a
let's shoot
little
for
bit
it.
of an update. Um and this is things that maybe we all thought, but according to ESPN, this is as of today. Bradley Roby questionable, Grant Calcaterra questionable, Justin Evans was on injury reserve. He's designated to return from injury reserve Tuesday, so that would be as of today. So that's the most recent update.
So before that, the week before, Cam Jurgens was activated off of IR, right? So you fully expect him
Right.
to play, which could play a factor in the run game against the Chiefs, which is great. Um, Justin Evans, I don't know if it's. I know it's a 21-day window, right? I don't know if it's too soon that they bring him back. I think they may, 'cause I don't think it was such a severe injury that should really like hold him off that much.
No, I think that we were talking about it earlier, but it does kind of make sense that he could be in the lineup Monday. But it's probably one of those game time decisions. I would actually sort of feel the same exact way about the Cam Jurgens situation as well. But as
Yeah.
far as safety, if Evans is able to return to the lineup, how do you see the safety work? I guess snap count rotation, however you want to put it, playing out.
I think it all depends if Roby's back as well. Because you could honestly like this gives Sean Desai a how can I say this? This gives him a weapon without being the weapon, right? I think the weapon in that safety room is Kevin Byard because he's so versatile. Now having Justin Evans back there, you can have him line up in the back with Reed Blankenship, and you can actually bring Kevin Byard closer up to the line, or vice versa, have Reed Blankenship close up to the line, whatever case may be. But this gives you the Swiss Army knife that you need in the safety group. It also helps. It could also help minimize the damage in the middle of the field. I've been going 3 safeties, but I think it wholly depends on if Roby's good to go now, which it sounds like he is according to him. I know
Right.
a Eagles fan tweeted out to asking him if he was going to play after the bye, and he said yes. So if he's going to play, and you have Justin Evans playing as well, I would expect his secondary to take at least 3 steps forward. I'm not saying that they're shutting down Pat Mahomes, but I'm saying that they're going to be the secondary that we need them to be so the defensive line can start eating again.
That's fair. That's fair because we were talking about it a little bit last week. The Eagles they live and die by that defensive line. So if they could get after Mahomes or at least force him to make a throw before he wants to, that might be enough to force something down the line. But it's going to be one of those games where it's going to have to be constantly pressuring Mahomes. Almost it's going to be almost it's going to have to be a defensive design that kind of it mirrors what Miami faced.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's kind of the best way to put it. Um, yeah, they took away Tyreek in that, so I think if by by the design, however Tyreek was taken away in that game, you're gonna kind of take away some other options from Mahomes, and it's probably gonna be Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, I think the key ingredient is going to be to how you defend Travis Kelsey at the end of the day, right? Because the wide receivers are who they are. They're nothing spectacular, but they're also not scrubs at the end of the day. They get the production done, and it is Pat Mahomes delivering the ball to them, right? Like this guy he's the ultimate playmaker. He is his own weapon at the end of the day. Um, so I think it's going to be that break don't bend that bend don't break defense, right? That we were accustomed to seeing. But again, it's just like you said, it's a matter of the defensive line getting home. It's a matter of having a Kevin Byard or Reed Blank. I don't know about reading the coverage, but Justin Evans possibly covering Travis
Right.
Kelsey or even double teaming. If you can sacrifice it, right? You got to get creative. You can't get lackadaisical against this team. And I personally, I mean, we'll get into the previews, but I need the secondary to stop giving so much space to these receivers.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that's terrifying because you do look at it's obviously like Pat Mahomes is quarterback that's going to mostly pick apart good defenses anyhow.
Yeah.
That's not the Eagles in terms of a pass defense. And a rush defense, fine, that is the Eagles. In a pass defense, we've been picked apart by pretty much every quarterback. Well, not picked apart, but it's been all right. There's not many times where there is a incomplete pass and there's not many turnovers that are being forced by the Eagles defense. But at
Yes.
times, like dude, I still and I always go back to this, but it's Sam Howell. If Sam Howell can do what he did, Pat Mahomes is going to do whatever he wants.
See, and it's funny you say that because like ideally, yes, absolutely, like that should be how it works out, right? But Sam Howell did what he did. Mac Jones did what he did, but Tua didn't get to really do much against
And
Philly,
that's what it
right? And
comes
that's just a
back to.
weird thing. Like you
That's what it
you
comes
let
back to.
these you let the bottom feeders really eat off the secondary, but the top guys are not eating much, which I applaud Sean Desai for, and I know he's gonna go through his growing pains. It's just tough, right? This team went to the Super Bowl last season. They're 8-1 right now. You expect greatness from a team that gives you greatness at the end of the day. I feel like we could kind of segue into the game preview a little bit. Because injury
Just
wise, I
I
think
would have
that covers it, except for Grant Calcaterra.
Yeah, I was just gonna say is one other little detail. How much of the run game do you think, or that are gonna lean on, or do you think they get away from it because of the lack of a tight end? Like you're gonna have Stoll in there, Calcaterra, you're not really quite sure about. You're gonna have Albert O. He's gonna be available, but Goddard, not available. So what is the attack on offense looking like with the tight ends? Is it going to be did they kind of get away from the run? Do you think, or is it just going to be more of a quick receiver, short kind of route kind of game?
So I think it'll be a mix, right? I think Cam Jurgens being back changes a lot of things. Weirdly enough to say, the run game took a dip after he went down to injury, right? Um, I personally think we start seeing a little bit of a mix with Rashad Penny and DeAndre Swift. We're still going to see a heavy dose of Kenny Gainwell, even though not too many people are thrilled about that. But I think Cam Jurgens is the missing ingredient. And now with Cam Jurgens back in, you can kind of get creative where you're going to have, I hate to say it, a Sua Peta or even a Tyler Steen, right? Play that tight end role where they're blocking and they're that eligible receiver, quote unquote. And I think you hit the nail on the head as well. You're gonna, instead of seeing that tight end screen all the time, you're gonna start seeing the running back screen. You're gonna start seeing the wide receiver screen with Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, even a Julio Jones, right? I think Cam being back is a huge ingredient that nobody knew they were missing. It's like making a chocolate cake without adding that little dose of sugar. That's who Cam Jurgens was in the run game. That's who he is on the offensive line. Sua Peta wasn't it. Tyler Steen held his ground, but he is a rookie. I think Cam gives you a lot more options on offense.
So we're over the fact. We're over not fact. I should say we're over the idea that probably not going to try Julio Jones at tight end.
So
We talked about it we skimmed over it last week. I just kind of
yeah.
want to reel that back in. How often did he do so in Atlanta? Is that if anybody would know? Because I didn't really pay close enough attention, but I feel like it's in his wheelhouse where it probably isn't so, it probably isn't an odd job for him.
So I don't think you use Julio Jones as a tight end, right? I think what you do with Julio Jones now is with Goddard down, you go to the four wide receivers you have because you have a good mixed bag of wide receivers. We haven't seen much of OZ playing out there, right? With Julio Jones, you could have AJ Brown on one side, and you could have a bunch of Devontae Smith, Oz, and Julio Jones on the other side, like to mix things up. Like I, this offense should be a lot more creative than they really are. I feel like right now, at this very moment, like
Yep.
if you wanna try things out for the long haul, then this is the time to do it against these really good teams. As weird as it is to say, because you can afford mistakes against these good teams, because people expect you to lose these games, right? You don't expect to lose these games because you're going in there wanting to win. But you can try these things and actually see how good teams respond to your creativity. In my
Yeah.
opinion, at least, if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. You come back down the field, you try whatever you got to try. But this is the moment to actually filter these things out and see what you have in a Zacchaeus, Julio Jones. Quez isn't back yet, right? Quez is out for another
Yeah, he's
2
still
weeks
on
or so.
IR. Yep.
Okay. It's your time, right? You don't have Jack Stoll is not Dallas Goddard. You can see what you have in Albert O. Grant Calcaterra, I know he has a concussion issue, so I don't know when he's coming back, if he's coming back. But now, hey, not only that, you could use Rashad Penny a little bit more as your running back and use DeAndre Swift as your wide receiver. Like you should be allowed to give yourself that room for creativity, especially in this little gauntlet we have going on right now.
And in all, if you don't, if it doesn't really work out, I mean, in all probability, Philadelphia is probably going to see Kansas City again. If in all likelihood, if Kansas City can make it back to the Super Bowl, I think that they'll see that they will see Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say the same I'll echo the same sentiment that you just said about getting creative against Buffalo, because if it's not Kansas City, maybe it's Buffalo. All right, well then they'll probably see Philadelphia, or Seattle. Well, hey, you could probably run into Seattle in the playoffs somewhere. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows how that works out. But just going down the list like that, I do like what you were saying about kind of using like a four wide receiver kind of idea, or maybe just having spaced out Brown and Julio Jones, because then you can afford to buy some time and then in certain spots maybe find like Jack Stoll for like a 7 yard, 10 yard, just a quick first down here and there. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
they're obviously not going to have a prevalent role in the passing game. I do think if you are going to use these tight ends without Goddard, then it's going to be more so to help with the a screen, like a running back screen, or a just in the run itself. You're just going to be in there blocking.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're very serviceable tight ends. We have yet to see anything out of Albert O. Maybe the bye week they kind of got him involved a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised that they see him. You see him actually in the first drive or in the second drive. Against Kansas City. Jack Stoll, I feel like he's a more intriguing name because I know they're gonna rely on him a lot. A pretty decent blocker, I feel like.
Right.
Pass catcher, he's not Dallas, right? At the end of the day, but you don't need him to be. You just need him to go 3 to 5 yards out, get him in the middle of the field, and if there's nothing down the field, you go to him right there and get a good chunk of yards. You you don't need him to be Dallas at the end of the day because you have. It's so weird to say, but you have an AJ Brown that could just literally take over this game at any
Right.
point. You have a Devontae Smith that can take over this game at any point. Um, you don't need much out of the supporting cast, right? You just need your main actors to be the main actors and steal the show.
And maybe just everything kind of gets away from receiving and along the line in the tight end role, and maybe you just use, like you were saying, if not Swift in some of the lining out wide areas, maybe just have
Mm-hmm.
two backs, and you got Gainwell, because Gainwell still does give you value.
Yes.
And I was starting to slip away and get really disappointed with his over usage. But as of late, in some spots, like on third and mid range downs, Gainwell gives you value. So if you can kind of him in those spots and kind of maximize his again, the term value and on third downs, then you're basically subbing him in for what you would use for a tight end anyhow.
I just feel like with Gainwell, I think my disappointment with Gainwell is the way he's running, the way he's playing. Like when you see Gainwell last year, right? In games that Miles Sanders missed or games that Miles Sanders didn't get much touches in, right? You saw him dash through the defenders. You saw him get literally disappear behind the offensive line and just show up out of nowhere for a good 15, 20 yards. I feel like he's trying to run as a big body back this season. Like he's trying to be the Rashad Penny of this group. And it's just not meshing well with who he is. He's in college, he was a pass catching running back. I was excited for him because it just made so much sense to have him on this team because you had a Darren Sproles. Now you have DeAndre Swift who does it all, right? But Kenny Gainwell, I feel like just needs to be who he is, and it's gonna mesh well enough. You don't need him to be a big body running back. Get lost between the tackles and do your thing. I don't know. It kind of feels like he's running with a U-Haul behind him, or like a trailer. Like this guy's dragging a trailer behind the offensive line. It just you're not seeing much burst out of him.
No, you're not seeing a ton of bursts out of him, but for whatever reason, he's finding his snap still in this Eagles offense, and it's again recently I've kind of seen in some ways like, oh, that idea right there made sense to use Gainwell, and like it was nice to see that because they were the Eagles were successful. One of those ideas would be maybe a delay stop route or just finding that area where
Yeah.
past the offensive line and then catching for a first down. Um, that's something that makes sense, but again, he has his spots. I don't think that he should be a featured part, but maybe he does become more of a feature role, with a tight end out. It's just another option. But heading into this week, what do you think? I don't want to get into predictions immediately. Let's hold that off. It's my
No, yeah, we
favorite
don't have
thing.
to jump to predictions yet. I feel like we need a little
Um,
theme song when that comes in. Like, is this Eric's part? This is
is
Eric's
it-
part.
I'm just trying to shoehorn it in there real quick. I'm just like, man, I could just say my prediction right now, but I'm gonna. Brian doesn't want me to, and I'm kidding. And I'm kidding around. Yeah. So I think where to start is what do you think of coaching head to head here? I'm going to pick your brain about that. Sirianni versus Reed. Like, what are the things that you like, and what do you think is a downfall?
So, and shout out to Duck, who's just a loyal Eric follower. I love it. I love the
You
fact
know
that Duck
what, dude?
is
You don't have to really, egg me
he's
on to
consistent. I love it.
say it this time because I'm not sure if I'm being unbiased. I'm not sure that I'm gonna outright say Philadelphia is gonna take this. But I
Mm.
also had this in my predictions at the beginning of the year, so I'm trying to kind of it's consistent.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I read an interesting piece during the week, right? It was when the Eagles were I don't know if it was last year. I think may have been last season. No, it was the year before. My apologies. Sirianni reached out to Andy Reid right before the bye week to kind of get his advice on what to do during the bye week, like how to approach it with his players, with the making sure you keep the guys together and keep them well in sync, I guess you could say. And the fact that you picked the brain of probably one of the greatest coaches to ever do it, and now the guy that you're facing, like it's the Jedi, the Padawan versus the Jedi Master, right? At the end of the day, like we didn't. It's a relationship nobody really knew was that deep. Like we knew Sirianni. I think he got fired when Reed came in, if I'm not mistaken, to Kansas City. So I didn't know there was a relationship even there. At this point, I think it's going to be one of those games where it's like we've seen so far Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni just not mesh well so far this season. They've had great games, they've had bad games, they've had good games, they've had worse games, right? This is going to be one of those games where like they both understand the assignment. You got to be in your bag. It's about time of possession. It's about being efficient. I feel like they're going to be extra careful against this Kansas City team, but I don't know. Like Reed is Andy Reid at the end of the day, right? Like he's the guy. I feel like this is the game where, and I titled the episode Eagles versus Chiefs. This is it's more than just a rematch, right? And I'm not saying anything like this is a revenge game because I don't think this is that. I think this game is actually a measuring stick for both teams. Like
Yes.
Liam wrote a great article about how this is possibly the next great rivalry for years to come. Like we could see this team battling out for the next 5 years in a Super Bowl for all we know, right?
Would you say that this is the new Brady Manning?
Yes. I mean, it's hard to say because they were in the same conference, right? So
Well, I get that part. Yeah, that's fair.
but I
Actually, that's
think,
really fair. It is kind of hard to
yeah,
say that. Yeah.
I feel like we have never. I mean, at least in my lifetime, right? I've never experienced a rivalry like this that could possibly develop into something. Like you have 1A and 1B in quarterback tiers, right? You have uh, the head coaching dynamic. You have the connection between the two. Like Andy Reid coached in Philadelphia for so long. Next around, he was fired when Andy Reid came in. It's just so much to it, right? So much history behind it where this could develop into something truly special. Seeing Pat Mahomes and Jalen Hurts battle out almost every year, whatever case may be. I mean, to the
Right.
point the NFL gets bored of it. I really don't care. I mean, as long as Jalen Hurts hoisting Lombardi at some point, I'm happy. But I feel like this game has the potential to be round two, not a rematch. No, this is round two. We're in a heavyweight battle over the next however many years. We have two of the best quarterbacks in the game, two of the best coaches in the game, possibly some of the best defenders to ever play the game. And Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick. Like there's so much storylines that are attached to this game for the next at least I believe for the next decade or so. I don't know. It's just to me, I'm excited. Like this is going to be a great measuring stick for both teams. You're going to see where they are at this point in the season, and you possibly see where they are at the end of the season in the Super Bowl. Like it's kind of crazy to think about it.
I almost think that the team that loses this time around, if they were to meet the Super Bowl, they'll win.
No, don't say that because you're ruining my prediction already.
Oh shit. Anyway,
No, but listen,
then.
the team that wins or loses, right? Like one way or another, these teams are now going to have the tape out on each other. I'm always
Right.
swinging my water bottle around. The tape is going to be out, right? They're going to know how to play each other. It comes Super Bowl, like it makes it that much more intense because they just played in the middle of the season. It's not like Lamar and the Ravens taking on the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. No, like these are two teams that literally just played each other. Literally, it was a slugfest. And you're going in for round three, like that's insane. Like round three in a matter of what, a year and a half, like that's just phenomenal in my opinion. Like that's must see TV.
Yeah, and they feel the same way. They put it on Monday night,
Oh
and
God, I hate Monday night games so much.
I knew that was going to rise out of you.
I hate Monday night games. I hate.
Yeah, what would even be worse? They would be like, yeah, they feel the same way. They put it on Thursday night.
Bro, I hate Monday night games because like one, you start Monday with working, like you got to work the whole day to get to the game,
You're just
and
thinking about
then
it all day. Yeah.
yeah, and then like you got to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to work the next day. And it's either going to wake up in a great mood because Jalen Hurts and the Eagles just beat the brakes off the Chiefs, or you're going to wake up in a pissed off mood because the referees called another holding call on the last drive of the game and the Eagles lost again. Like it's just one way or another, your mood is determined by a freaking Monday night game.
Dude, it's that next Tuesday it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll tell you right there. It's either going to be I'm going to either be full of hell or I'm just going to be the happiest person before you go against the Buffalo Bills. But
it's either you're 9-1 or 8-2, right?
Dude,
like,
it feels like even if the Eagles were like 8-2, it feels so much worse than that because it's just like that's the second time in a row. And then I'm gonna have to hear about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift.
Can that not be a thing on Monday Night Football? Like, can we talk about the only
It's gonna
Kelce
be
and
the
Swift that
only
matters?
thing. It's going to be the only thing, and they're going to bring up that, and then you're going to have Mama Kelce in both jerseys as usual, and then they're going to talk
Which
about like watch
isn't
the
that like
documentary on Netflix.
another
I'm hitting
tie-in
all the points. They should just
to this
hire me,
rivalry
dude.
now? Like, isn't Taylor like originally an Eagles fan and now
I
she's
thought.
dating
I
the
guess
Chiefs
not.
tight
I
end?
guess it was just cool to be an Eagles fan. Princess Diana is the only Eagles fan. That's the only one.
She's the only one that counts, and Kevin Hart.
and you all count. Don't get mad. Every last one of you count.
No, I'm talking about celebrities. I'm not talking about the guys that listen to the pod.
I feel like Doug's going, no.
Oh God! All right. You know what? So what are your keys to the game for the Eagles to win this game?
Don't turn the ball over. Big number one right there. Do not turn the ball over. Um, you
One
can't
turnover in the
afford.
last 3 games, right?
Yeah, yeah, you gotta get one too. Don't turn the ball over and then also get one. Um, God, obviously, we were talking about it earlier. I already hit it on the head. Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey. Pretty much you gotta double him. You can't afford to not double him. I think. And quite frankly, I know you're gonna hate this, but hopefully Taylor Swift's not at the game because when Taylor Swift's not at the game, Travis Kelsey sucks. That's a weird curse that hasn't really existed since Jessica Simpson and Tony Romo.
Huh.
Yeah, I know. I went to the archives for that one as far as
That,
celebrity link-ups and professional football players. So yeah, I do think that has something to do with this week a little bit. Does that have a factor, in the outcome of the actual score itself? Absolutely not, but I like the idea.
okay, that's fair. I'm going with the secondary. The secondary is a reason I'm balder than I was at the beginning of the season. I feel like I need to. That's some deep analysis.
It is. Did no research.
I need the Eagles to figure out what they're doing with James Bradbury and Darius Slay. And when I say that, I feel like they're playing each cornerback to their weaknesses as opposed to their strength. Even though Darius Slay he's been doing his thing most of the season. James Bradbury I feel like is playing out of place, and I don't like to say that because last year he was phenomenal. He's not a bum of a cornerback, but I feel like Sean Desai needs to learn his players a little bit more and play them to their strengths. Right, like you, I James Bradbury to me is not a man to man cornerback, right? But Darius Slay is. James Bradbury is more of a zone cornerback, and Darius Slay is he could cover in zone, but he's more of like let me stick to this guy. I'm gonna break down this guy. I'm gonna hold him down. Get a little creative with the defense. I feel like this game's gonna be really riding on Sean Desai to make a name for himself and actually do what he needs to do and get the job done. I'm not worried about the offense. I feel like the offense is gonna show up. I do believe that just like you said, my number two key of the game is turnovers. Get a damn turnover. Defensive line, go for a fumble. Secondary, you got to get interception. You have Kevin Byard back there, who is number 2 in most interceptions, I think, since like 2017, behind Xavier Howard. Put him in place. Like the guy's got to get a turnover. That's why you brought him over. Reed Blankenship, he's well known for possibly getting some turnovers here and there. You got to make it happen. You gotta make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable even in his uncomfortable zone. Like the guy, he knows how to break out of the pocket. He knows how to do things on a run. Make him even more uncomfortable to a second level. The third thing is I need the offensive line to be the offensive line that everybody keeps raving about, but everybody keeps ignoring that they've allowed possibly, I think, the most pressures in the league or second most pressures in the league. Jalen Hurts has a bum knee. He has an injured knee. You got to protect this guy at all costs. You got to make sure that he has a clean pocket for majority of the game. When Jalen Hurts has a clean pocket, he's been on point. I mean, this guy, from people saying that he didn't have any arm talent, is throwing the ball pretty damn far and making things happen on the run. Like he's doing things that people didn't expect him to do, and his growth is phenomenal to see. But I need the offensive line to do the thing. I need the defense to get turnovers, and I need the secondary to show up and stop the bleeding, man. Just stop all the bleeding that's happening.
Now, to the final point there, you were talking about Jalen Hurts' arm talent. It's not his ability to complete these passes isn't just because of the talent that he's throwing to. He's actually putting the ball in an area where, like every once in a while, yeah, of course, AJ Brown is going to use that size to make that catch. I mean, that's just AJ Brown doing what he does.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see a ball thrown and it's in an area where only Devontae Smith can reach it, that is all Jalen Hurts. I think people very much underestimated him, but it only drove his work ethic, and that's the reason why that we got that quarterback that we have right now. This is going to be a game that's going to be absolutely insane. I don't think like if you look at Vegas odds right now, I don't know who the favorite is, but I bet it's like a pick'em game. Like I bet you it's just I think the spread is probably going to be like if you were to look at it right now, anywhere between 3 to like whatever even. Um,
Let's see.
It's something. I bet you it's a really close game. But I mean, I'm kind of picking like a, yeah. I'm gonna go with a 27. 31. I'm going to go Chiefs, though, winning this game. 31-27 Chiefs.
31-27.
Yep.
Okay, so you actually do have the Eagles losing this time.
I do.
I don't know how to.
And that does match what I had, I think, at the beginning before we did week 1. So, yeah, I think
So I
that's
don't
how it
know
goes.
if I'm reading this right. So definitely correct me and forgive me in advance. I'm not a betting guy. So the line says KC under 2.5. That's negative.
So they're favored to win by pretty much a field goal or less, like 2 and 3
Okay.
around
And
there.
the over under is 45.5 points.
Which, okay, so probably somewhere between. Probably, I mean, that's not a bad guess for where I'm living right now. I mean, I would go
Yeah.
over though.
Okay. It's one of those games where you expect it to be a high scoring game. And I don't doubt that it will be. Eagles are not this offense is not built to score low, even though the Jets really held them down. But the Jets, I feel like, are a unicorn that just happened at the right time for Philly. I'm going. Damn.
It's hard, right?
I feel like it's the first time I'm really stumped this season. But I think I'll go with like a 28 to. Oh, more points has to be first, right? So, damn. I'll go. Damn. I don't
He's
like
gonna go
this.
damn. He's gonna damn it all day.
Oh. I'm going to. All right. I'm going 23 to 30. I'm going 31-23 Eagles. And
31-23. 31-23 Eagles.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going with 23 for Kansas City because again, I feel like a lot is riding on the secondary. So for them to stop the bleeding, I feel like you had the bye week. If you have the leaders that I believe you have in this locker room, then I'm pretty sure during the bye week, Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Sean Desai, they stood up in that secondary room and they spoke their mind and they're motivated. I personally feel that way. What score I was over with again?
That said 31. Was that 31-25? 31-23? Something like that. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah,
Pick one. Pick it
of the
again.
sorts.
Pick it again
All
real quick.
right, all right, I want 30, 35. Let's go regular, right? Let's go 38 to 25. Let's go that way. Is it even possible to get 25?
I think any score is possible. Look at Scoregami. He'll find it one day.
You know what? I'm going with Duck. I'm going 34-28 Philly.
There you go, Duck. We're gonna feature you in the predictions. That's what we're gonna do.
There it is.
Pop it
And
up
then
just like that.
Ron's going
34-28.
42-35. We got CJ Calibred going 38-24, all Eagles. I'm going with Duck's score of 34-28, just because my brain hurts from all this thinking and from being torn apart from Pat Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. But it's gonna be a hell of a game, right? Monday night game.
The pressure is on.
The
If
pressure is
it is officially on. Like, I know we were just going through Dallas week and blah blah blah, and that pressure is on. But this is a different pressure. I think this is more of an intense pressure. One's a rivalry, and one is a measuring stick of the league.
I completely agree. And K1 actually going with Eric 24-17 Kansas City. Wow. Hey, listen, shout out to all you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on our new time. We're actually going to be going forward 7:30 to 8:30 every Tuesday night. Might be working a second show. We don't know. We're still debating about it. But we do appreciate you guys for joining us tonight on the podcast. Definitely stay tuned for tomorrow night tomorrow you actually have Trending in the AM at 8 o'clock. And then we have the Outside Insider at 6 p.m. They'll be covering more of the Eagles stuff. Until then, definitely follow our TikTok, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Flippin Birds Pod, and our Instagram, Flippin the Birds Pod, and Twitter, Flippin Birds Pod. Yeah, we can catch all our great content. But until next week, damn, that score is it's really bothering me, dude. And that's the key thing. I'm sorry to not end it really quick, but bye week Andy, bye week Nick. Nick's around. I just put this out there. He's 2-0 after the bye week.
And what's Andy after the bye week?
Don't ask me. That's a tough question, bro. Like, what's?
Okay, never mind. I won't ask you that. Look, and I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope the Eagles win. So with that being said, you know the deal. Go Birds!
Yes, sir.